And the biggest moment in the Israel-Hamas war, the 4-day ceasefire has taken effect. The truce began at 7 a.m. local time in Gaza. And the ceasefire is a part of the Israel-Hamas hostage swap deal. And these are live visuals that you can see on your screens. These are live visuals from Gaza. We can see thick plumes of smoke billowing from the buildings there in Gaza, but absolutely no airstrikes or bombings taking place in the Gaza Strip. There will be no fighting as the truce is officially in place, but Israeli forces claim that sirens are repeatedly sounding in several areas of southern Israel. Well, these are live visuals from Gaza on your screens right now. And just a short while back, the truce between Gaza and the Hamas militants came into effect. There are no bombings or airstrikes taking place in Gaza right now, but we can see thick plumes of black smoke billowing from the buildings there. And later today, Hamas will release the first set of the Israeli hostages. A group of 13 captives, mostly women and children, will be released at 4 p.m. local time in Gaza. Well, these are live visuals that you can see on your screens from Gaza. It's the truce which has come into effect, the 4-day truce between the Hamas militants and Israel. Well, this breakthrough, this much anticipated breakthrough deal to pause the brutal and bloody 7-week-old war in West Asia for days, which has for weeks, which has been taking place. It's a 4-day truce between Israel and the Hamas militants, and these are live visuals from Gaza, where at least 12,000 people have been killed in the ongoing war there. Well, under the latest deal, which has been struck between Israel and the Hamas militants, the release of every additional 10 hostages will extend the ceasefire by 1 additional day. And for Gaza's 2 million people, this deal spells a respite from relentless Israeli bombings. And as you can see on your screens, there's a relative calm which has descended over the Gaza Strip there. And these are live visuals from Gaza, where the much anticipated truce between the Hamas militants and Israel has come into effect. The truce started at 7 a.m. local time, and we can see thick plumes of black smoke billowing from the buildings there in Gaza. There is relative calm in the Gaza Strip after weeks of bombings by the Israeli side on the Gaza Strip, which has killed at least 12,000 Palestinians in the area. According to the latest truce, which has been mediated by Qatar and the United States of America, 50 hostages will be released in exchange of 150 Palestinian prisoners who are in Israeli jails. Well, this is the first truce, a major breakthrough in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. And like I mentioned, this truce has been reached after mediation by Qatar, and it will facilitate the release of at least 50 hostages held by Hamas militants. According to various reports, just 15 minutes after the truce came into effect, there were some airstrikes from the Hamas side towards Israel. But the visuals on your screens right now, these are live visuals from Gaza, where the truce between Hamas militants and Israel has kicked off at 7 a.m. local time. Well, Israel's IDF has also announced that they have completed their operational assessment of the ceasefire lines, while also stating that they have destroyed Hamas militants' tunnel that was exposed at the Al-Shifa hospital. And as you can see, there's some kind of relative calm at the Gaza Strip at the moment. No airstrikes, no bombings, just thick black plumes of smoke billowing from the building there. And for more on this, we're now being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen from Monterey. He is a professor of non-proliferation and terror studies at Middlebury Institute and is widely known for his path-breaking historical studies of the Israeli nuclear program. Welcome to the broadcast, Doctor.
Good evening.
Right. Good evening. Now, the truce has just come into effect a short while ago, but we're also hearing reports that the Hamas militants fired towards the Israeli side. How optimistic are you that the truce will withhold?
Well, it's difficult to say. It has not, in fact, in the past, in previous ceasefires, the Hamas also responded sometime after that. I tend to think that the Israelis will tolerate this time, even though the instruction is that in case of serious violation, the Israeli responds and non-proportionally. So it's a very fragile ceasefire, and we need to watch what's going on. It's difficult to say. It's a very fragile one.
Right. What are some of the hiccups that can obstruct this truce? You speak of how it's a fragile truce between both the warring sides, but also list out some possible scenarios going forward.
Well, I believe the two parties have a very strong incentive, at least for the time being, to keep the ceasefire. Hamas desperately need the time to regroup. And the hope is to extend the ceasefire. They desperately need it. Israel needs to have its people back. It's a voice very strong in the entire country to get back the people. So I tend to think that for the next few days, possibly beyond the 4 official days of the pause, the ceasefire will be held. But nobody can predict. I'm saying it very, very tentatively.
Right, Doctor, you speak of how a ceasefire will withhold in the next few days. But talk to us about, do you think that Israel will be able to strike a balance? Speak of how it is very important for Israel to bring back its people, to bring back the hostages. But do you think it will be able to strike a balance between bringing back the hostages and also destroying Hamas? Because the IDF has clearly said that they will continue attacking the Hamas militants after the ceasefire with its ultimate aim of destroying the militant group Hamas.
Yeah. Ceasefire of that length, at least 4 or 5 days and possibly more, has a dynamics of its own. So no doubt that the Israeli government and the Israeli people are determined to continue to eradicate the Hamas. At the same time, the Hamas interest is to try to extend it as much as possible to create pressure on Israel by seeing the destruction, the wreckage in the Gaza Strip, and to try to create, to change the dynamics. It's difficult to say. I think that Israel would determine to continue after that. But again, nobody can predict. There would be a great sense of disappointment and anger within the Israeli public if that would be the end of it.
Right,
but again, it's...
Right. Also, why did Israel take so long to agree to these conditions? Because they were put forth earlier as well.
Why it took so long? What?
Why did Israel take so long for the truce to take place? Because these conditions were put forth earlier as well. Do you think there's growing pressure on?
Well, these are two parties, warring parties, with a great deal of suspicions and lack of trust to each other. And the Israeli government came to announcement. They wanted to complete the seizure of the entire northern part of the Gaza Strip. That's the reason why it wasn't take place a week ago. They wanted to be in a position of stronger force, stronger leverage. So it took a little bit more. But I think this is the point that both sides needed very, very badly. So we'll see how the dynamics will go. It's difficult to predict right now.
Right, Doctor, there are also latest reports of Israeli flyers dropping pamphlets in South and Central Gaza, asking civilians not to move towards northern Gaza. How do you read this at a time when the truce has just taken place?
Well, Israel is committed not to use fire, but at the same time, Israel is very firmly against allowing people to go from the south to the north. So they are going to use all sorts of means to disperse demonstrations. And part of the dispersing those flyers is telling very clearly to the people in the south, you don't have anywhere to go to the north. Much of the north has been flattened, and please stay where you are. So it's a message to prevent movement from south to north back.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us on WION and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.